soccer fans from all over the globe are having the time of their lives at the World Cup. But it's creating a little bit of a politico problemo for Democrats, according to Politico. One of the party strategists now admits that there was a, quote, liberal wish casting that the tournament might go off the rails. It hasn't, obviously, and the fact that America is actually putting on a pretty good show is frustrating.
So following up on our last video, it now looks like Democrats are actually admitting that the World Cup has been a massive political defeat for them. You can't make this up. And it's hilarious because when I said this, a bunch of people called me crazy and delusional. I got a ton of comments the last several times we talked about this saying, why are you trying to politicize the World Cup? This is not about Trump, it's about America. You sound crazy arguing that a soccer tournament on US soil could possibly be damaging politically to the Democrats. And yet now Democrats are admitting the same exact thing. And I could see this coming from a million miles away. Why? Because first and foremost, let's not forget what a bunch of them were saying about America hosting the World Cup. We shouldn't get to do it because, first of all, the infrastructure in our country sucks. Europeans are so much better. They're not going to like it. And by the way, ICE is going to be brutalizing all the foreign tourists. The logistics are going to be a disaster. And Trump's going to look really stupid when people discover that America's a big S-hole and it's a horrible place. And why were they even going to come here? And then, of course, we've seen what happened, which is all these international people from Europe, from Japan, other countries coming here, realizing everything they were told about this country was completely wrong. It's not this nightmare of, people dying of not having health care and school shootings and all these things. Actually, it's awesome. And yeah, Democrats have fallen flat on their face from that. But also, we've argued the cultural aspect of this. And it's not just about the World Cup, sure. It's about gas prices coming back down. UFC, the 250th anniversary of our country, there are generally just these good vibes suddenly coming to America this summer. We've called it the Great Patriotic Vibe Shift. And yeah, needless to say, when you're running against the incumbent party, and especially as leftists, the last thing you want is patriotism to be seeing a revival in this country. I think it goes without saying why a large-scale boost in national pride is politically damaging in our modern politics to the political left. But also, let's not forget maybe the extent to which a bunch of even foreigners who historically, like snobby Europeans who generally are talking really bad about America and making Americans feel like their country is stupid and this dystopia and all this stuff, how they're admitting that they're wrong. So between the vibes between Democrats hoping that this would have been a logistical failure and made Trump look really bad, yeah, none of this has gone the way they had hoped, which I find to be hilarious. But hey, we've made our argument on that front as to why culturally this matters and hence why politically it actually is probably going to make something of a difference. But if you don't believe me, let's take a look at what Democrats are saying about it, which I find to be quite hilarious. And by the way, again, before you call me crazy about this, okay, let's look at how the midterm polling has shifted ever since the World Cup began. We just talked about that in our last video. And granted, again, I'm not saying it's just because of the World Cup. It's because of gas prices, political developments, all of those things. But yes, the vibes, I will repeat, this is important. If you think these don't dictate elections, you're just wrong. The vibes are shifting, and that's a bad thing for people who build their entire politics on the basis of anti-Americanism in this very nihilistic sense that America sucks and we need to be like the Europeans or the socialist third worlders or something like that. And it's all coming undone. So let's talk about it. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. That is the best way to support our work, and it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, just days ago, when this piece was published in Politico, I felt so vindicated because this is what we've been saying, right? Here's what the headline reads. Democrats grapple uncomfortably with World Cup success. A logistically smooth tournament poses a problem for Trump's critics. And by the way, you could almost argue, I guess, Trump is sort of an avatar for America as a whole. But I would say, yeah, America's critics as well. But anyways, the triumph of the World Cup's first 2 weeks, boosting the U.S.'s global reputation with sold-out stadiums and few logistical complications, which let's not ignore. They also tried to tell us that all these people are going to boycott the World Cup because everybody hates America. They're going to boycott Trump, blah, blah, blah. It's been packed. They tried to say, and look, I mean, are there criticisms to be had of American infrastructure? Sure. But they told us America's like an unlivable place. These Europeans aren't going to be able to get around. Oh, it's been fine. Okay, it's been fine. We don't live in a hole or something. Big shock, I know. Right? But has forced Democrats who had criticized Trump's role in preparations to grudgingly reconsider. Well, we tried to tell you that. Quote, I think there was a little bit of like liberal wish casting that this would maybe be a disaster to sort of stick it to Trump, said Rob Flaherty, the digital Democratic strategist and soccer fan who attended the U.S. group stage match with Australia. It hasn't yet been, which is hilarious. Because when we tried to say Democrats would be rooting against the success of the World Cup, and even in some cases actually rooting against Team USA, I mean, we covered that, right? Democrat politicians saying, oh, I'm not rooting for USA, I'm rooting for Senegal or whatever, these like foreign countries, elected representatives of our country. Other US soccer fans saying, well, because of Trump, I don't know if I can support Team USA this time around. We tried to point that out. People said, you're crazy. Obviously, the Democrats are also rooting for America. Why do you make everything political? Yes, liberals can be patriotic too. How much have we heard that? And then you just get the open admissions. Everything right-wingers were saying they were doing, and now they're kind of pouting. Why did the World Cup actually go well? Why are people saying our country is great, you know? This will obviously stop the impulse by patriotic people to want to tear down the entire country and embrace communism. That's why they think it's bad for them, and they're not wrong about that. But anyways, so before the tournament, attitudes about the World Cup were polarizing, like so much else, along partisan lines, with Democrats confronting FIFA. Remember, they were trying to get FIFA. They're saying FIFA was like bought out by MAGA and all these things. And the Trump administration over high ticket prices, shortfalls in public funding, and the government's posture towards foreign visitors. And that's the one I heard the most, right? ICE is going to be doing this and that. Well, as the tournament approached, local officials in areas hosting matches, including Zoran Mamdani and New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill, turned from critics to cheerleaders. Funny how they noticed it might not be a good thing to say, let's root against the thing happening in our country. Now a prominent congressional Democrat is going even farther, admitting defeat. Hilarious. Praising the U.S.'s handling of tournament logistics, if not giving the Trump administration explicit credit by name. This week, Brendan Boyle, a Philadelphia Democrat active in foreign policy issues, called it a remarkable success and vowed to do everything I can to get the World Cup back here as soon as possible, he said. Wow. That's a big 180. I thought we live in like a third world terrible country, though, huh? Funny how the Democrats suddenly seem to think our country has good stuff, I guess, good infrastructure, all those things. Okay. But going back here to the article, in an interview with Politico on Thursday, Boyle said, this has been a great moment, actually devoid of politics, and I think it would be best to keep politics out of it. Well, that's the thing, is maybe not you, but your base and your general political coalition this whole time was not keeping politics out of it. You were trying to say all this about ICE and this and that. And, again, a lot of your voters especially make their whole brand hating America and everything it stands for. Not just the politics, but the culture. Like, it's all just sucks. America has no culture, all this different stuff. So, yeah, it's easy to say now that it's a success. Now that you've fallen flat on your face, let's keep politics out of it. But that's why we're not going to do those things, because we are going to point out, yes, so many of you guys said this was going to fail. You were rooting for it to fail. You were rooting for everybody to hate our country. And when it turns out, even of the three countries, the foreigners like ours the most of World Cup host cities, we're going to point out that you look stupid and you're just wrong. So it is worth noting that. But anyways, so he further said, quote, I'm excited about the U.S. hosting the World Cup, how well that it has gone, and how receptive these foreign fan bases have been to finding more about the United States and interacting with ordinary Americans. Well, that's quite interesting, because I thought ordinary Americans are racist, right? That's what we've been told for a long time. They're racist, they're bigoted, they're xenophobic, right? The Europeans are so much more tolerant. Why can't we be like the nice Canadians? which in many ways, having traveled to some of those parts of the world, I will say is actually just not true, right? It's a reality. Americans are a lot nicer, a lot more open-minded, a lot more polite, tolerant. But, you know, they always frame us as these big evil meanies, even though if you have traveled and then been back to America and just noticed the difference is obviously not the case. But hey, isn't that also a very interesting statement to make, that the American people are actually of good moral character? Because I was told vehemently during peak woke, hey, 1619, all of this stuff, American people are systemically racist. Hey, every white person, right, is naturally racist by de facto, and we all hate foreigners. We're the xenophobic, evil country. And notably, even when they go to supposed MAGA strongholds in the South, you're seeing that's just not true. Huh. Very, very interesting.
We owe America a huge apology, because America is nothing like what the media tells us. Everyone is so friendly, everyone is so accommodating, and I've honestly had the best time. I fly home Sunday, and the English have a song where we say, please don't take me home, I just don't want to go to work, let me stay here and drink all your beer. And I've never resonated with that song more than in America for this World Cup. I wish I could stay and finish the tournament watching England. So if anyone is out there that can help me make this happen, then please let me know. I want nothing more than to stay in the USA, finish the World Cup, and meet more fantastic Americans.
Yeah, so you want my policy prescription for Republicans going into the midterms? Just keep the good vibes going all summer long. And I completely mean that, right? And it's almost fitting that we have a president in Trump who is so obsessed with the spectacle, admittedly, but that's not a bad thing, right? So, of course, how else would he celebrate America's 250th by bringing the World Cup here, which he did do back in his first term, or the UFC fight, or the Great American State Fair, constant flyovers of awesome jets, and I guess they're doing an F1 race in DC in August and all this stuff, right? Because in comparison, we all know what the Democrat 250th celebration would have been, just a giant humiliation ritual, right? A pride march, a George Floyd memorial, basically this big reminder to the demoralized patriot that America is a conquered country. The gay race communist won. There's nothing you can do about it. And Trump is saying the opposite. Trump is saying we're back. In fact, we're still on top. We never went anywhere. And rightfully, to an extent, these are the types of events that leftists will say, oh, well, that's just propaganda, bro. You're wasting tax dollars, bro. You know why they're saying that? Because they understand it's actually cool. It's actually cool. Anything that's cool or beautiful or spectacular, leftists obviously hate. But yes, they're also not happy what this is doing to the national psyche and the national pride of America, which is exactly why we have to keep it going. In fact, turn it up tenfold. Great patriotic summer, okay? And let's get cliche as cliche with the patriotism as possible, right? Let's go full 1980s mode, okay? It's Rocky IV, it's Hogan slamming the giant, it's all of those, it's all of those things, right? That's the vibe we need. And if that's the vibe we have, literally of the summer of 84, gee, I wonder what happened in that election too, by the way. You know, that's where we are. That's where we need to be. So let's keep it up, guys. And again, if you think I sound crazy, the Democrats are saying it too. So let's keep winning culturally. Let's keep gas prices low, all of those things. Let's have a great time this summer, and literally us enjoying ourselves in very American ways and being proud of this country is actually very politically damaging to our enemies. So don't stop. Anyways, that said, let me know your thoughts on this, guys, in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.